doesn't know the name Dale Carnegie, founder of the Dale Carnegie Courses, born in 1888 on a farm in Missouri? This farm boy turned salesman, turned actor, teacher, author, and self-help guru has helped thousands of people through his teachings. And 100 years later, probably even over 100 years later, they are still relevant and we are still remembering him. It is from Mr. Dale Carnegie's courses that so many self-help and personal development teachings and books have arisen. My guests today are part of the Dale Carnegie legacy, Mr. Jerry Wilson and Miss Jessie Wilson, no relation. For decades, Jerry led the Little Rock, Arkansas Dale Carnegie courses, with probably the most famous one being How to Win Friends and Influence People, which we'll talk about today, along with Carnegie's other books, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Don't we all need to know that? But that's not all. There are self-help classes on all kinds of personal development, from speech making to tips on improving your memory. Joining Jerry today is Jessie Wilson. As I said, no relation, but she is Jerry Wilson's legacy at Dale Carnegie. It is with great pleasure that I welcome to the table the positive people and coaches of the Dale Carnegie course, Mr. Jerry Wilson and Miss Jessie Wilson, no relation.
Thank you so much.
You.
You're welcome. Jerry and I were just talking about how long we've known each other. And when I took this course, because I did take this course, and getting ready for this show, I got out all my books and I started looking at them. And Sun Gray, they refer this edition that I have is in the 1980s. And I'm sure they've made a lot of editions since then, because some of it does feel kind of outdated.
Yep.
Just because here's why. Dale Carnegie tells stories. He is like the original documentarian of writing about people. I mean, and they're tiny little bites of stories, you know, it's like, and then they're 2 paragraphs, which is the way I like to read. And I would say these books are written on an 8th grade level. What would y'all think?
No, it was like strategically from the 8th grade level, like, because I think Dale Carnegie, that was something that really stood out to him, is that meeting people where they are and they can read that. And an interesting fact is actually Donna Dale Carnegie, Dale Carnegie's daughter, is like, she's our chairwoman for Dale Carnegie. And she just did a revision of How to Win Friends and Influence People that was released earlier this year. So there's new stories. There's some of the integrity of the whole book, How to Win Friends, is the same, but there's some of the different type stories that are more relevant for today. So just what you're saying.
And he talks a little bit about science, and science has come a long way since the 80s.
Yes, it has.
Yes.
You know, he talks about brain theory and stuff. And I'm like, no, that's not true anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Dale Carnegie. He was born Carnegie, that he spelled Carnagey, and he changed it to be like the Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnet. I mean, that's clever.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he was an entrepreneur, and he saw the Carnegie name, because previously it was Carnegie, as you just said. And he saw the Carnegie name and realized that he could ride that wave, that people knew the name. And
they'd remember it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in 1912, he born in 88, but in 1912, he moved to New York and was selling cars and being an actor and all this stuff. And like I said, I just got finished reading some of it again. And then he got really saddened by what he was doing. He wasn't feeling fulfilled. And he went and tried to get a job at 2 colleges because he's gone to college. He's trained to be a teacher, and he didn't get hired. And like so many people, it was the best thing that ever happened to him. The disappointment was the best thing that ever happened to him. So tell our listeners what he ended up going to the YMCA, and tell them what he did.
Yeah, he started it was a public speaking course for men originally during that. And then what he had realized is that, you know, people don't need to learn just how to be public speakers. They need to be good people skilled in speaking. And so then that really started that journey for building the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And so he dug into those stories, and then from there created the Dale Carnegie course we know today. It's been shifted over time from 16 weeks to 12 weeks to 8 weeks to 3 days.
Really?
Yes, it has shifted over time.
Can you still do a long course if you want to?
Yes, you can still do a long course if you want to.
So you're meeting people where their needs are. You want it 3 days just like Dale Carnegie.
Exactly. But what's really powerful, Carrie, is, and many people don't know this, is that Dale Carnegie, is a global organization. We have 210 offices globally and deliver this training in over 25 languages. And so what started the global picture was Dorothy Carnegie, Dale Carnegie's wife. So when Dale Carnegie passed away in 1955, Dorothy Carnegie said, well, this needs to be bigger. And we need to take this global and have more of that franchise concept started because of Dorothy Carnegie.
And what'd you say their daughter's name is?
Donna Dale Carnegie.
Dale, Dorothy, and Donna.
Yeah, the 3 Ds.
Donna Dale.
Yes.
So what was his first book?
The How to Win Friends.
That was his first book. Yeah. And then he went on and he noticed that people were worrying and that was, it was interesting. And one of the reasons that I edited the new version, but you may have left this in, you may have taken it out. But he talks so much about ulcers that we don't really suffer from anymore because we have Tums and new medications for ulcers. But it's surprising how many people died from a bleeding ulcer back then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the background you might find interesting in How to Win Friends and Influence People. He would take a principle, ask his class members to go out and apply it, and then come back and report on it. Those that succeeded more than they failed, he put in the book. The others he threw away.
So it was like his own laboratory.
It was his own laboratory.
So no wonder they're so perfect. No wonder they're still good. I'm kind of amazed that 100 years later, we're still got all the same issues we had 100 years ago. Yeah. Even with all our technology and everything.
Technology's dramatically changed, but people haven't. We still, what keeps you up at night's not a piece of equipment. It's somebody.
Yeah.
Or what you ate. It's not necessarily.
Yeah. But I'd even add to that when you said about the how to stop worrying and start living, like just what Jerry was saying, but in his program, like in his trainings, he realized that more people had worry and stress in their life than anything else. And he mentions he went to the New York library because he wanted to find, okay, I'm going to invest in myself. What can I find about this? And I mean, there were some, but barely anything. But you can imagine you go to a worry section and there was very few. Now we have more. But during that time, he saw 50 books on worms. And he said, why do we have 50 books on worms?
And nothing on worry.
Nothing on worry. So then that's how it started. From there, he saw the need and fulfilled that need.
And I thought it was interesting, and this is not true today, but at the time that he first wrote the book, cancer was not the prevailing cause of death or obesity. The prevailing cause of death was bleeding ulcers. Yeah. Which came from worrying because it wasn't their diet so much as it is. The guy said, it's not a diet that'll kill you. It's your worrying. One of the doctors, he did a lot of quoting of a lot of people. So, was his next book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living?
Yes.
And then the one after that was The Quick and Easy Way to Effective Speaking. Has he written, those are the 3 that you're given when you join your class. You're given those 3 books because I have those books. Is there any more?
There are. So yes, we released, like there's been different ones over the past several years because, Carrie, to that point, I mean, many people, they think how to win friends and influence people. It's still relevant today.
So relevant.
But part of our brand within Dale Carnegie is that, hey, we have got to remain relevant. We've got to continue to share these different stories. And so we have books on the listening. We have a new book that's been released just this past year called Take Command. And the Take Command is written by Joe Hart, who is our CEO, but it's also through different stories across our global network. So these are with customers. These are with Dale Carnegie franchisees. And you get to hear how they take command of their business. And it's very powerful. We've done some different book releases across really across the world in bringing that Take Command book.
And he wrote a book about Abraham Lincoln.
So yes, that you get that in the training if you win an award.
I must have won an award because I got that book. And again, it was very easy to read. And I was fascinated that Dale Carnegie was so fascinated by Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah. He was. What was it entitled? Lincoln the Unknown.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah, and it was kind of about how could you start from such humble beginnings and become one of the most important people in the or the most important person in the world that changes everything.
Yeah.
So how did you two end up in the business?
Jerry, I'll have you start.
Yeah, Jerry, you start first.
Yes.
Long before Carrie.
Yeah.
Long before Jessie. I took a sales course.
Really?
I was in sales and took a sales course and saw it have a dramatic impact on my performance. I moved from the bottom of the sales group that I was in to the top. And I thought, wow, this is really powerful. This makes a lot of sense. Gained a lot of confidence.
Were you in Little Rock?
No, was in Richmond,
Is that where
Virginia.
you're from?
Virginia is where I'm from. Small little town of about 3,000 people in the heart of tobacco country. So I didn't fit the corporation I was working for real well. I was looking for a job, and I found out that the instructor on that franchise was looking for salespeople. And I thought, boy, if I could work with this guy for a year, that would be an education I couldn't buy. So 1 year turned into 36.
Do you think salespeople are still a viable occupation now that you can't really walk in the front door? Like when you and I were coming up, you could walk in the front door. Yeah. Can I talk to a purchasing agent? Sure. He'd come up and shake your hand. You'd go to the back office and you'd show him your wares, you know. Yeah. There were manufacturing reps and so on. Do you think that salespeople are still...
More than ever. Because all of the technology.
What'd you say?
I spoke with one this morning.
That came to visit you?
For our corner market.
Oh, and you want to buy some stuff from her because she came to see you.
Yep. Well, sales is really built on relationships, getting to know people. You can do some of that with technology, but you really get to know people face to face. So sales becomes more important than ever.
Yeah. I would even say, too, that we live in an environment that's very transactional. So if I want to go buy something on Amazon, I can just do buy it now. And it's very much, it takes the relationship out of it, which I think there's sectors of that with technology, with AI, that can be really good. Yeah. But I think it puts this massive gap of that salespeople, that they're willing to do things others aren't willing to do. So if they're willing to, in essence, go back to the basics and build the relationship, and not saying that they are going to go door to door, but they're going to still have a presence on social media. They're going to meet you, whether on Zoom or Microsoft Teams, or they're coming face to face. They follow that process. Then I think what we'll find is salespeople, the ones that aren't going to do the things, they're going to have clients for a season. The salespeople who are truly living it and building those relationships will have clients for a lifetime.
Well, I know in media advertising, they've still got clients. They've still got salespeople. Sure. And Gray and I have often bought media from people that come to visit us.
Oh, yeah.
And, they follow up.
Marketing salespeople, yeah.
So in some ways, when I was reading How to Win Friends and Influence People, I thought it was just teaching manners. And that we've just forgotten to be mannerly. It's like, just be nice and listen to people when they talk to you. and come from where they're coming from and try to have empathy. You're like, well, isn't that just Miss Manners rewritten?
Yeah. It's related.
Yeah.
It's related. We want to deal with people that we like, not someone that's rude.
Yeah. And I would even say too, Carrie, that, when you look at the core of the principles, they're common sense.
Yes, they are.
They are. So you look at that and you're like, oh, yeah, this isn't just how to be nice, but they're not common practice.
Oh, Somebody write that down.
Common sense, not common
practice. Y'all put that on my website. All right. Well, this is a great place to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with the self-help gurus, Mr. Jerry Wilson and Miss Jessie Wilson. No relation. They are shining examples of personal growth and confidence that they teach through their work at the Dale Carnegie Courses. Still to come, we're going to dissect these 3 books of Dale Carnegie's and get really deep down and give you some tips. We'll be right back. Do you have something to say? Say it in flying colors. I'm Carrie McCoy, owner of flagandbanner.com, where flags tell stories and banners get attention. Whether it's for your business, organization, or special event, custom flags and banners will make your message soar. Visit flagandbanner.com for high quality, quick turnaround. We're not just any flag company, we're the experts that answer the phone. Thank you, Gray. You're listening to Up in Your Business with me, Carrie McCoy, and I'm speaking today with Mr. Jerry Wilson and Miss Jessie Wilson. To use modern terminology, they are authentic life coaches before life coaches was even a word. I say authentic because their methodology comes from the tried and true courses of Dale Carnegie in Little Rock, Arkansas. All right, if you're just tuning in, we were talking about Dale Carnegie's life, and he's a fascinating guy. And I like the way his books are written. They're 8th grade, my favorite reading level. They're not too long, 220 pages, perfect for me. So now we're going to talk about some of the books. And the first book we're going to talk about was the book that was the most famous. And I think I read it was made into 37 languages, and I don't even know how many millions of copies. Mm-hmm. And Jessie just told me that his Dale Carnegie's daughter Donna is doing something fantastic with the book.
Yes.
Oh, she's just made a new edition last year.
She did a revision. Yes.
That's right. So I may have to get that just to compare and contrast.
Yes.
So the edition I have is 1981, which is how Jerry and I found out when I took my course. It was in the mid 80s. So let's just dissect for our listeners some of the great tips. In part 1, again, Miss Manners, don't criticize.
Yeah.
Give sincere appreciation and arouse in the other person an eager want to. Well, of course. But I do think that sometimes people are confused when they think that when you criticize somebody, you're helping them and that's how you motivate them. But all of us mothers know you can't get your kid to clean the room by yelling at them. You got to tell them, I'll buy you a toy after you get the room clean. Or something, I don't know.
Incentivize.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's why we have him here.
Yeah.
He finishes all my sentences. So when I read this, I thought about how I didn't even realize that all of these tips, the principles had seeped into my subconscious and that I've actually been using them for years. I think you could rename this book A Manager's Guidebook because this is how you motivate your employees. Mm-hmm. You don't go in and go, you idiot, I can't believe you did that the other day. You come in and say, I know you didn't mean to do this, but I need to let you know that you checked the wrong box when you were writing that order up. And thanks for getting that order. That's a good order. And then they'll do it right next time,
Mm-hmm. No, it's so true. I think, especially these first 9 that, I think about different stories where many, like in the workforce today, we're in a hybrid environment. So some people are working from home, some people are in the office. And so the big challenge today is that the part of the reason you see some people leaving is they're not connected.
Yeah.
And they don't have the connection at work. And so sometimes when we think about it, I call those first 9 principles our micro environment. So it's in a way that all of us have a vibe. Like Carrie, you have a vibe. I have a vibe. Jerry has a vibe. And it is, are we bringing that positivity to us around that micro environment, or do we bring another? Are we negative from that? And so these first 9 help us to get a gauge to see what environment am I creating? Like when I walk into a room, what do they see those 9 because that's intentional on truly at the core of it. It says become genuinely interested, not be. I have to become it. I have to change my motivation, and I need to shift my thinking to think more about you than about me. And that micro environment really demonstrates that. And so today's workforce, those first 9, even though they seem basic, are vital to employee engagement. They're vital to how we interact with one another. They're vital to whether I'm on a meeting for 5 minutes virtually, how you feel when I leave that meeting.
So you're saying 9. I guess because my book's old, I only have 6. And they really.
Yeah, you need a new edition.
I need the new edition.
No, the next 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here they are for everybody. Become genuinely interested in other people, which you just said. I mean, you got to really be interested.
You do.
When Jerry got here, I thought he was interviewing me. So how'd you start your business? And I said, whoa, Jerry, stop your Dale Carnegie principles on me.
Yes.
Why did you start this radio show, Carrie? We had a whole conversation about why you started this radio show.
Yes. He was genuinely interested. So, and then smile. And Jessie, you have the best smile of anybody on the planet. I mean, do you ever not smile? Do your cheeks hurt all day long?
Yeah.
So, okay. The next one I think is really important that I learned from Bill Clinton. It's a person's name is their favorite sound they want to ever hear is their name. I have a problem with this.
Okay, why?
I can't remember anybody's name.
Yeah.
I try so hard.
Carrie, I'll
took
tell
your
you,
memory
I'll
course.
tell you how to do it.
Okay, tell everybody.
The
Tell us.
next person you meet, loan them $100.
That's
Then you'll remember their name.
You'll remember.
Sure.
Now, what would that do? I mean, truly, that's being humorous, but what would that do? That would really make us work at learning the name. So we have to, Bill Clinton was a master at it and had a quick mind so that he had an advantage over most. But if we really met somebody that was going to buy your business today, boy, you'd learn their name. You'd remember that. You'd get it the first time.
Yeah.
Right?
I would.
Well, they say because Carrie, I was the same way. I mean, I'm like, I work at Dale Carnegie. Like, why can I not remember certain people's names? And this was probably 12 years ago. I had an aha moment, and it was really a self-reflection for me that it was where I saw value. I think naturally we compartmentalize people and we say, I'm only going to meet you for 2 minutes. I really don't need to remember your name. So it's like a file cabinet. I don't even need to put it in my file cabinet. It doesn't need to go there. Yep. I can just throw that away. But then we meet somebody and maybe they're kind of sitting on the desk and then they say something that could help our business. Like, hey, I'm really interested in this. Then we file it away because it's of value to us. It's important. So what I had realized, there's a quote that says, it's like remembering people's names. It can be somewhat of a gimmick, but it's remembering the people behind the names it takes away our own motivations. If my motivation is to be really good at remembering names, but I have no motive behind it, then I'm just going to learn a cool skill. But then if I truly say, you know what, I truly believe that principle, like become genuinely interested. In order to become genuinely interested, your name is important.
Kind
it's your brand. It's like if it's like your brand to that person. So I'm going to use your name. I'm going to repeat your name. I'm going to like instill it in my mind that you are important, even if you you couldn't help me in any way.
Because you can repeat their name over and over and over and you walk away and you're like, oh, what was that name I was repeating over and over? It does not work. But if you associate it to something behind the name is what I think I hear you saying. So when I took your memory course, Jerry, 30 years ago or whatever, the guy told me he gave us 20 names to remember and he made us visualize all of them. So we were like, Like if I wanted to remember Jessie's name, I had to visualize Jessie's name with the door slamming and her name in the door. And then if I wanted to visualize Jerry's name, I had to visualize Jerry's name sitting on the cover of a book on a desk. And then he did all these. So what is that called? Do they still do that?
Association.
Sure.
Yeah.
Association.
Do
That's
they
right.
still teach it that way?
We do.
Well, we learn by association or repetition. Most of us learn by repetition. If I'm around you every day for a month, I'm going to learn your name, right?
Hopefully.
But if I just see you once, that's a different deal.
So if I wanted to take a memory course, which I need to, what would that entail?
Well, I think it's more around, and I think, we would probably ask you, okay, so why?
Yeah.
So it's a why, what would be the value for you? And is it, because I think within memory, I think that's a common misconception is people think, okay, well, Dale Carnegie, that we do memory, and we do.
But it's part of another course.
But no, it's part of your confidence. So if I'm good in my memory, so if I am able to associate things, if I'm able to, in a lot of ways, peg things to help me to remember, I'm going to be more confident talking to you, Carrie, because I am not having to, oh, what was that? What did I remember? But I have it in my mind, and it's a lot of ways, it's a mindset. So because typically what happens is like, just remember, or we put her like something on our finger, and it's truly more deeper than that. It's deeper in our own self-motivation. I would say that, and this is what I tell a lot of people, is that the Dale Carnegie program, like where we teach the remembering names, where we teach about like different memory techniques, is that even if you took it 30 years ago, I encourage people to take it at every season of their life, because you're going to have a different perspective from it. Because when you took it 30 some years ago, now you're going to look at through the lens of leading a larger cause, leading a team, and seeing maybe through the eyes of your grandkids, and to see how can I best influence in this stage rather than how you saw it during that point.
Yeah, she's speaking to me on my level, like Dale Carnegie said.
Well, she is. She's good. She's a top performer. You and I face age.
Yeah. Yeah.
That impacts,
memory loss.
That impacts memory. That's different.
Oh, it is?
Sure.
So I don't even need to take the course?
Well, I understand why you're taking it.
I just need to get some of those. What are those pills you get for memory loss on TV?
Yeah.
The psychiatric mushroom, psychedelic
Well,
mushrooms. Yeah.
I definitely.
Rewire your brain.
Yeah.
No, it's silver something. It's vitamins on TV. Anyway.
But, let's personally quote Dale Carnegie and mushrooms. Let's not put those in the same category.
And where Jessie was earlier is what really matters. Is do you see beyond the name?
Motivation.
Who's the person? Yeah.
Motivation.
Yeah. Why is it important?
All right. So the next one is be a good listener. I hear a lot about active listening, and I see over and over and over people that interrupt other people and don't listen. This radio show has been so good for me to learn to be an active listener. I didn't realize how bad I was till I started this radio show, and I realized I interrupt people all the time. I even had a caller call in one time and say, "Tell that lady to quit interrupting her guest."
Back when we did it live. Yeah.
when it was live. And a thing about a radio show, for anybody who wants to do one, is you can't have like a normal conversation. You have to pause between each thing to let the listener catch up. And I didn't do that. But anyway, nobody's active listeners anymore.
Well, I
It's
think,
hard.
and I think about that. Like there's two parts to that principle. Be a good listener, encourage others to talk about themselves. And
I don't think there's much problem with that.
Yeah. Well, the thing about we have to become genuinely interested. So part of being interested is listening to others. We live in a very individualistic, a very I-focused environment. And these principles are shifting our mindset to others, that I need to care about what you care about, not just hear what I care about.
That's right. So here's the next one. So that's how to That's how to make people like you. That's what those tips were, basically.
Sure.
So the next way is how, in this same book, is to win people to your thinking. Mm-hmm. And
that's different.
That's different. There's 3 really good things that this one book teaches in only 200 and something pages that I thought every manager should read. Mm-hmm. The only way to win an argument is to avoid it. Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot of people don't think that. They're like, I'm going to go tell them so and so and so and so. Mm. And that's really not it. And then show respect for the other person's opinions. Yeah. Never say you're wrong to anybody, which I have heard people say that. Yeah.
Well, sure.
Remember when Bill Riley used to tell his guests to shut up on TV? I could not even watch that show. I was like, where is his mother?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And then if you're wrong, admit it quickly and empathetically. I will admit I'm wrong, even if I'm not, just to avoid a fight and to move on and let the other person win, because I don't care if I win half the time. Yeah. Really and truly. I mean, does half the stuff you're trying to win, does it really matter?
No, it's very, I think, one common misconception that we hear a lot is, wait, you're telling me to avoid arguments. Like, we need conflict in the workplace to get things done. I can't just do that. And so one thing that we demonstrate is the key word is argument. And an argument is 90% emotion and 10% nonsense. Yep. And conflict is, we should have conflict. There should be, we need diversity of thought. We're not just everybody, I have this. But it says, in order to get the best of this argument, to avoid it. So we know when we walk into the workplace and there's that one employee that just they just know our buttons and they want to argue with anything, and it devalues the meeting. It starts to really almost deflate your inflated balloon during the day. Just avoid that argument, because you are naturally, if you feed into that, it's going to create a fire.
And I think this is good too. Let other person feel like it's his or her idea, because then they'll have ownership.
That's right.
So if you're trying to get something done, you can ask, instead of saying you need to take the trash out every day to your husband, you can say, wouldn't it be nice, or is tomorrow trash day? And they're, oh yeah, I need to take the trash out. You're, okay, good. That was your idea.
Yeah, Carrie, what I like to do is when we're on vacation, I'm like, my husband loves to go to coffee shops and I like to shop. And so I strategically look and see where shopping that I want to go to in a coffee shop is close.
Perfect.
Yes. Yeah. And I just say, hey, didn't you want to go check out that coffee shop there? We get there. And while he's in line, I'm like, hey, how about you stay here? I'm just going to go over here. And there. So he has figured out what I've done.
I was about to say, I hope he doesn't listen to this show.
Yes. And we are going on vacation next week.
Conflict aversion. Like you said, like don't start an argument in order to win it. It's like you find the solution before it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you engage them to start being part of the solution instead of part of the problem.
And your demeanor plays a huge piece of that. If my demeanor is I'm going to beat you down, then that's what we want to avoid. You can present another perspective without arguing about it. Oh, a different perspective is, right?
And that's actually one of his principles is try to look at the other perspective, because you grow yourself when you do that. You might actually learn something, and what you thought may not be the right way. I can't tell you how many times I thought we need to do it this, and I talked to somebody and they're like, and I'm like, oh yeah, that wouldn't have worked, because they've got a different perspective.
Yeah.
And then try to be honest about it from the other, and think of it, like you said, from another person's point of view, and be sympathetic, like you said, to the other person. And then, I didn't know what this one means, but it says dramatize your ideas. And then the last one says throw down a challenge. And I didn't read that part. I didn't get to that today. What does throw down a challenge mean?
Oh, yeah. Jerry, you want to cover that one? There we go. I got it.
Did I just throw down a challenge?
You throw down a challenge. Hey, I have the stories from that. Yes, I will throw down a challenge. It's for competitive people. I mean, how many times, Carrie, you got like a throw down a challenge for any time we get faced with something that maybe you throw down a challenge to your sales team and say like, hey, we need to go do this, or we need to have so many orders here. And I think more times than not, we tend to limit people. Throw down a challenge for them that say that there is a goal that you want to hit, and you write down that number. I remember I was specifically in a sales meeting, and one of the owners, he wrote down a number, didn't say anything else from that. And from that, he just said, that's where we need to be next year. And it like threw down a challenge. Yeah. And we were just like, okay.
And was it huge?
It was huge, but we knew we could get there. And he didn't yell at us. It was more around, I think there's so many different things. He would come into the office. He says, I have $50 for the first person to get a meeting. And all of us are on the phones. We're like, because there are challenges on there because, for that.
That's fun. That's games.
That's games.
Now we're playing games.
Yes.
So they should change this, make a game.
Yeah. Throw down a game. Yeah. It's like, do that, but makes it fun.
All right. And then 9 ways to do it without giving offense or causing resentment. I don't know. You probably got more than that now than 9, but begin with praise. This always works for all you managers out there. If you're going to write somebody up, I learned this maybe I learned it through Dale Carnegie, but I think I learned it through management. You bring somebody in, you're going to write them up, and you tell them right off the bat what they did great and what they do good and what you like and what you're proud of. And then you tell them, but this is where we could improve.
Yeah. But I look at those principles that if you go down, it could really be a coaching process.
Yes.
So typically when we think through the lens of a manager, the natural thing to do is like they're up at night thinking about, I have to have that difficult conversation. And so for them, it's a to-do list. Now I just want to get it done. I'm going to be direct with you. Here's what you did wrong and go. Well, then the performance of their team is going to go down the drain. So the beginning with praise, it's in a way sets the tone. Is this person worth keeping? And if they are, then we need to begin with that because everyone has those strengths. I'd even say too, when we begin with that praise and honest appreciation, so even sometimes those mistakes that we make, if the motivation was pure, we need to think about that. Maybe they made a huge mistake, but they were trying to be efficient and fast. That's a good thing. Now you love your efficiency and how quick you were on this. And then you go in and you talk about, let's make sure, continue that speed, but let's see how we can make that even more effective.
And I don't think most people do things out of malicious or on purpose.
No.
Most of the time, right. So most of the time, they don't know they're doing it or it was a mistake. More than not, it was a mistake. And they're actually kind of glad to talk about it a lot of times. They're like, I know, I meant to, That's okay. It's a mistake. Let's just not do it again.
Yeah. Well, we all beat ourselves up more than we'd let somebody else beat us up. Right?
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. Because you've called them into your office and they've already not slept that night before. They're already thinking, should I go to Indeed.com? Like all the things that are there. And then when it de-escalates it.
And then I do think you need to do, like it says on the 4th, ask questions instead of giving direct orders. I think if you say, what can we do next time to change this? They know what to do. How do I ever know what to do? That's not in their position. They can say, I think the back door needs to have a new latch put on it, and then I won't leave it open tomorrow when I leave. I think the lock's bad. And the same thing goes with your children. For parenting. I mean, your kid may be running in the street. Look, she's laughing. She's got 2 young kids.
Yeah.
But I mean, they may be running in the street and you're like, boy, you're a fast runner. Stay out of the street,
Yeah. No, it's so funny. It's so funny here because when I think about And I'll even tell, like when I'm in a training, I'll say I coach way more at home than I do in this training room. My son, he's 5. He's almost 6 next month. And part of his kindergarten, he has to give a presentation. And they want to work on presentation skills. And so he has a presentation September 21st.
Do they know who his mom is?
Oh no, literally. It said,
do they not?
No, I mean, I don't think yes, but I saw that and they said,
no
please
or
help
yes.
your.
What was the answer on that?
Well,
no or yes?
I don't know if his teacher knows what I do, but yes, she'll definitely learn when she says, because I said, Graham, stop moving your arms. Graham, so like, be quiet, like go through this. And we practice it every day and he gets 2 stickers every time he practices it. And you see the coaching, he's self-correcting and he's only 6.
You're such a good mom.
Yes, she is.
She's the next president of the United States.
Oh, yes, yes.
You know, you don't think, okay, again, maybe we should rename this book on how to parent. Instead of how to manage, we could rename it on how to parent. Because there is so many similarities.
It all applies.
It all applies. And sometimes I even say, I think I'm a better manager because I had kids. And, you know, they were my laboratory kind of.
For better or worse.
Yeah. And with kids become empathy. We become more empathetic with kids.
Yeah, we do. And then this is one that really worked with my kids is tell them how great they are at something and they will become good at that.
You bet.
And I think that's the same true with your audience you may be speaking to or your employees or even your husband. When he goes out and mows the lawn and comes back in, I go, oh, you smell great. I said, I really like that
fresh
sweat.
cut grass.
Fresh cut grass. Yeah. I mean, he's like mowing the lawn every Saturday after that, you know. But I couldn't have told him to mow the lawn. He'd never have done it.
That is great.
This is a great place to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Jessie Wilson and Jerry Wilson from Dale Carnegie Courses. And we're going to talk about speech making and we're going to talk about how to stop worrying because everybody worries too much and it's not good for you. So we'll be right back with tips on those subjects.
Hey, Hog fans. It's time to get Razorback ready. Call those Hogs to victory. At Flag and Banner, we have all your game day swag. Hog hats, license plates, banners, flags, and more. Come bust out your Arkansas pride today.
You're listening to Up in Your Business with me, Carrie McCoy, and I'm speaking with Jessie Wilson and Jerry Wilson. No relation from the Dale Carnegie courses they teach. They are the original life coaches before life coaches was even a word. If you're just tuning in right now, we've talked about Dale Carnegie, the man born in 1888, whose books and subject matter are still so valid that all the self-help books almost from today have been written about his theories. They've just been expanded on. And then we also talked about his first book he wrote, which has been turned into 37 languages. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a very easy read, written on the 8th grade level, 200 something pages. If you have never read it, it just got reformatted and re-edited again last year by his daughter, Donna. And I highly recommend if you have children, if you know anybody and ever see a person in your whole life, this book can help you have a great relationship with them. Strangers, family members, work environment. All right, now we're going to talk about speech making. Warren Buffett said, and I love this, I love Warren Buffett. He is the founder of the famous guy, Berkshire Hathaway Investments, super rich, has a fear of speech making. He took but he knows that if you can learn to make speeches, you can up your self-worth by 50%. If not, maybe more. But that's what he said. So he wanted to learn to make speeches. And so he took a Dale Carnegie course and was so afraid he threw up and quit the first time. And went back and said, I'm going to conquer this fear if it kills me. And so he did. And if you watch any of his speeches, you can tell he's nervous.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the book, A Quick and Easy Way to Effective Speaking. Why is it important?
Well, it's our greatest fear in life for most people is speaking in front of a group, right?
Yes.
So what happens is as people develop a skill, then their confidence grows and we're able to be ourselves. That encompasses all of life because that confidence also comes through if you're just talking to one person. So it's really about helping people to build their confidence. You said with Warren Buffett, it's about overcoming a fear.
So this book is not just about making speeches. No. It's about effective speaking to anybody in your whole family. Now, I would like to take this course again personally because I would like to improve my speech making because I have to make them all the time. And like Warren Buffett, I was scared to death to do it. And I took this course to help me get to it. And like Warren Buffett, I dropped out.
So we're going to have to work on that, Carrie.
No, I just related to him when he said, I thought, oh, yeah, me too. So this is a quote on the book jacket, which speaks to what you're saying, Jerry. Every activity of our lives is communication of a sort, but it is through speech that we assert our distinctiveness from other forms of life. When we are unable to say clearly what we mean through nervousness, timidity, I'd say timidness today, but this was written a while back.
Timidity?
Timidity.
Okay, sorry, keep going.
I know, but I'd say timidness today. Or foggy thought process, or foggy thought processes. Our personality is blocked off, dimmed out, and misunderstood. And he's talking about just talking to people. Yeah. And so he gave some fundamentals here. Take heart from the experience of others. What does that mean? Acquiring the basic skills. Keep your goals in front of you. There's been a million books written about the secret to success.
Yes.
Keeping your goals in front of you. He talks about visualization.
Yep.
And doing it all the time. Predetermined your mind to success and seize every opportunity to practice. Yeah. Again, there's been a million books written about saying yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I even say, I think about there was a graduate from actually Google, and she had delivered a presentation, and she was so nervous, like, her hands, everything, just, oh my gosh, do I want to do this? And then she, basically was like, I'm done. Like, oh, there we go. And then she gets a call from her boss, and he says, I want you to take the Dale Carnegie course. And she goes, what? No, like, this is stressful. I can't do this. And she said she was in administration. She was like an admin to an executive. And he said, I believe that this will really help you. Mm-hmm. She took it. And she spoke at our Dale Carnegie convention, and she spoke in front of all these people, so close to 1,000 people across Dale Carnegie
that know about speeches.
Speeches.
That's a tough audience.
And she just said it gave her this confidence. And now, we work with the executive assistants across Google to give them that type of skill set, because she said, we only know what we know.
Yeah.
And so from those aspects, when we talk about our audience, I think at the core of it, if I were to think about what is Dale Carnegie, figure out this phrase, it's not about you.
Yeah.
So then make it about somebody else. If you're going to give a speech, don't make it about you. Oh my gosh, I hope I don't mess up. Oh my gosh, I hope I don't say this wrong thing, or I don't have enough experience, or I feel like an imposter, all those things. If you focus on that, it's going to fail. Mm-hmm. If you focus in on who you're speaking to, what they care about, what the goal, what the purpose is, you're going to be more successful. And then don't have the first time you actually say it out of your mouth be on that day you give it. Because some things that sound great in our head do not sound great when we actually deliver
you mean
them.
practice?
Oh, yes. Practice them. Yes. Because there's many times I can say that, if I don't practice it before, and I just think about it, I'll think it's the funniest thing ever. And then I give it, and I'm like,
the joke doesn't land.
Yeah. And you're like, oh man, that sounded great.
Do you practice just with yourself, or do you practice to somebody else?
So sometimes I do both. So it just depends. I know as different facilitators, we'll come together and we'll say, okay, hey, let's practice this.
When do you have to give speeches?
When do I have to give speeches? Oh, all the time.
Two.
So, okay, I'm a facilitator as well. So I facilitate the Dale Carnegie program, the sales program, customized programs. And then I'm also a keynote speaker. And so I know next month I'm going to a company to deliver a keynote.
So you're speaking about speaking all the time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like when I say how many times do I give speeches, it's a topic and I'm asked to speak
How
on
many
that.
people
So
are you speaking
critical.
to?
It ranges.
So what's next month?
So what's next month? I think there's going to be a series of 80 managers that they're bringing across the US and what I have seen, like over 2 last keynote speakers speeches that they have asked, it's to light a fire under people. Like we want to get motivated that they leave. And it's in a way like a Braveheart moment is that they want that to be inspired because I think a lot of people are in their homes and we have missed the core motivation.
Well, that brings me to there's one of these major fundamentals in every speech. It's either to persuade or get actions, to inform, to impress and convince, or to entertain. So yours is going to be to...
Well, and all of them, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and it's funny too, Carrie, within entertain, that is something across the learning and development industry that there's a little bit of controversy because some would say, no, you're not a comedian. You don't need to entertain. But think about today's environment. Today's environment, people are on their cell phones at the stoplight.
Yeah.
When we shouldn't be on there. So if you're not entertaining me, I will find something else to entertain me. I'll grab my phone. I'll do something else. I'll do my grocery list. So we've all got to entertain. And entertain is not just be a comedian.
Yeah.
It is your energy level. It's how you communicate, how you bring your message to life. But we all have incredible stories that we just have to be really good at delivering them.
Carrie, I want to go back for a minute for your listeners, but for all of us. Most of us beat ourselves up, right? If we're going to give a presentation, we're talking about we talk to ourselves, right? So the point is to talk to ourselves with positive things. I'm prepared for this presentation. I'm really going to be good. I'm going to have a lot of energy. It's going to feel good for me. So to give ourselves positive pep talks, because most people give themselves negative pep talks. Well, that only makes it worse.
Yeah, it really does. So how do you stop worrying and start living? That's another book.
Yeah. A lot of the things we worry about never happen. Mr. Carnegie said 90% of them never happen, right? So we spend all of our time and effort wasted on something that's not going to happen.
I thought this one was interesting that I read. He said, go ahead. And I do this. And I guess I learned it from Dale Carnegie. I go ahead. If I'm going to buy another business, let's say, I go ahead and say, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yep.
And he says that in his book.
That's
and
right.
I read it again today. What's the worst thing that can happen? And I think, well, I'll lose that $100,000.
Yep.
Will I lose my other business? No, but I will lose my savings.
Yep. Yeah.
And he gave lots of examples of going ahead and asking yourself, what's the worst thing?
And accept that.
If I
and
leave,
improve on it.
If I leave my husband tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be broke.
Yes. Well, and I think too, when you look at the book, it's broken up into different sections, similar to How to Win Friends and Influence People. So like one section is how to conquer worry.
Yes.
And one section is like around our good working habits. And some are around, how do I break the fatigue? So when I'm exhausted and I'm just so fatigued with everything going on. So each of those, the different sections have different principles that can help us.
So how do you break the fatigue?
So yeah, they say a lot of it is mindset from that. And it's, they say that it's what we think about, we become. And so I always say, if it's trash in, it's trash out. Because if what I think in here, it's a spiral effect. So if I think one negative thought, there are 15,000 other thoughts that are negative.
The story we tell ourselves is probably the most important story.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can tell ourselves, I'm going to be great at this, and you'll probably be great at it.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd even say too, Carrie, that when we think about from fatigue perspective, one of our previous franchise owners, he passed away in November. He had 9.5 years with terminal cancer. And I really
it's a long time with terminal cancer.
Yes, it is.
It is. So you think about how to stop worrying and start living. He lived those principles.
Yes, he did.
And one of that, it more than not, I mean, for my years, I've been doing it almost 14 years. I got to see those principles in action during a very traumatic time. And one thing that he did is that he created happiness for others. When we tend to have trauma in our life, we live in a time and we get fed that, oh, I'm so sorry. Like you should it's okay. Just sit there. You don't need to do anything. Like be in your own thoughts. And he did not do that.
Well, that speaks to being in your own head and being and help. And so you're getting out of self instead of worrying about your disease. And he did it by thinking about the other person.
He did. He would buy dinners. He was
amazing.
Amazing. He would think about others before most people would think about the other person.
And Carrie, you remember this, and it's on surface, people act enthusiastic and you'll be enthusiastic, right? Mm-hmm. And we did that in the class. So it's not about fun and games, but it's saying, I can change how I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's about changing how we think.
So one of the guys that he quotes is Sir William Osler, who said, live in day-tight compartments.
Yep.
And I thought that was really good. Live in day-tight compartments. So one time I did go to a counselor and she said almost that to me. She said, and probably everybody's heard this, if you want to have worries, think about the future. If you want to have regret, think about the past. If you want to be happy, think about today. And out of that year of counseling that I went in there and talked to her, that's the one thing I think that really, really stuck. And when I saw this in the book, live in day-tight compartments, it keeps you from stewing about things.
Yeah.
Or being angry about things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's something in the book, it talks about water the plant at your feet.
I like that.
So it's like water what's in the present. Don't look into the field ahead and don't look behind you. But it's in a way, our day is filled in compartments. And I think if we were thinking today's time, it's probably live in 30-minute compartments rather than a day. But in that 30 minutes, say I had a bad meeting. I just got chewed out by my boss. Well, it tends to, we have then decided the rest of our day is going to be terrible until we decide I'm going to deal with that compartment and then I'm going to start a new day. And then it shifts. So it's like, in a way, we have our mindset that says, I'm having a bad hair day. It's not going to be a good day. And we tell people it's not going to be a good day. Yeah. Well, then when we live in daytime compartments, we have to deal with all those stresses and then start it over.
You can't control how you feel. You can control how you act. Mm-hmm. So if you act in a given way, feeling follows action.
Yeah.
And that's the fundamental of act enthusiastic. Yeah. You can't control how you feel, but you can, if you start acting that way, before long, feeling follows it. So it's a gain in compartments.
Criticism is a big one that people have a hard time with. I think if you start thinking of criticism as disguised as Dale Carnegie says, as a compliment. It often means that you have aroused some sort of jealousy or envy. I mean, it may not be. You may be doing a job wrong and someone needs to tell you, you know, you need to do something a little bit different. And you're like, well, great, because I like this job and I want to keep it. So if you think of it like that, you don't get caught up in your head about criticism and start beating up on yourself again.
Yeah. I think that goes even back to like coaching. Like I played soccer throughout, and sometimes the ones that they would coach even more, like, let's say, hey, you can do this better, because they saw so much more potential in that player.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's similar with those stresses. So that criticism is often a disguised compliment.
Yeah.
And so when we see it in terms of that, so when your boss is saying, hey, you need, like, they are putting so much pressure on you to do those things because they realize you have not hit your potential.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
And so
or they care about you.
They care about you.
You know, when you say, honey, don't eat that because it's not good for you.
Yes.
That ice cream at 10 o'clock at night's not good for you. It's because I love you.
Yes, I love you. Yes, yes.
So I think when I read all of this, I feel like, why are schools not teaching life skills in classes? Because you get out of class and it's like you're just we come to maturity and all of a sudden you're set out and the pressures of experience and everything come down on you, and you haven't really been taught, unless your mother was really active or your father was really active. But a lot of times you've just been going to school and coming home and you don't know all these life skills. I mean, why are we not teaching life skills and development for people, for young people, when they get out on their own? Because I think a lot of them, and I know my kids were a little bit shocked at what the world is like when you get out there. Of course, they had me to help them, but not everybody does.
That's right.
Yeah. I think that's definitely become more evident. I think as the workforce that we have, the aging workforce, and people are having to be in the seats that are not fully prepared to be in the seats in the leadership or management. And in a lot of ways, I think it has shined a light that we need those skills a lot earlier. So Carrie, like you're very intuitive to that, to see. And I think that's conversations that many businesses are having. Personally, I worked with a group of seniors in Valonia, and because one of the superintendents saw it, she said, all right, we've got to have she didn't want them graduating without some of these key skills. Yeah. And the parents joined at the very end. And I mean, it's powerful. And you think about those things, that it stays true today, that we need them. But I mean, that's the question that I've always asked myself. Why are we not more into the schools?
Yeah.
Yeah, finances is another one. Kids come out and don't know how to pay their taxes. It's another one that kind of sticks in my craw. I'm like, there's some really nice life skills. And then they find out that they hadn't filed their taxes for 3 years and they've got penalties and interest and they didn't know they needed to.
Yeah.
So this is the last thing, talking about fatigue, and then we'll go to a quick break. Preventing fatigue. The one that stuck out in my mind, there's several of them that you can read in the book about how to stop worrying and start living. And one of them, though, was resentment and anger. That's very fatiguing. And talk about getting stuck in your brain.
Yeah. It says, don't worry about the past. And one thing he says is, don't saw sawdust.
What?
So imagine you are sawing a piece of wood. Yeah. And then it's already been cut. And now you're trying to saw a sawdust from that. Makes complete sense.
Well, I have heard that there's these little grooves in your brain. And if you keep thinking the same negative stuff over and over, you're just going to map that groove in your brain over and over and over. And then you just need to remap it another way. All right. This is a great place to take a break. This will be our last break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with the good people from Dale Carnegie, Mr. Jerry Wilson and Miss Jessie Wilson. No relation. They have been kind enough to share their knowledge of confidence and personal growth with us. He's laughing because I keep saying no relation. Interestingly, the Dale Carnegie courses are as relevant today as they were 100 years ago and seem to be the foundation for which many other self-help books and courses were written. These are easy to read books. I highly recommend you pick one up or take a Dale Carnegie course. When we come back, we'll talk about how to sign up for the courses and how you can get involved. We'll be right back.
Buying a flag isn't always easy. Luckily, ArkansasFlagandBanner.com is here to help. Locally owned and operated for more than 40 years, our friendly and knowledgeable staff will help you find just what you're looking for. From flags, to banners, to decorations and more. Shop online or in-store. Come see us today. ArkansasFlagAndBanner.com. We're the experts.
You're listening to Up in Your Business with me, Carrie McCoy, and I'm speaking today with the Dale Carnegie. You called yourself facilitators for Dale Carnegie, Jessie Wilson and Jerry Wilson. And we've been talking about the books that Dale Carnegie wrote and how they're still so relevant today. And if you missed this show, you need to go back and listen. There are some great self-help tips. But if you've got the money, because it's not cheap anymore like it was when I went to Dale Carnegie's course, you can join some of their classes. And I think I'm going to take a speech class. Like Jessie was saying, you should probably take it you should probably take a course every time you change places in your life, which for me seems to be about every decade.
Yep.
About every decade I change. And I saw a speaker speak one time, and he said, if you're not changing your business at least every 10 years, you're not going to be in business the next 10 years. And boy, is that not true. This business has changed so much in my 40 plus years. So how do people get involved with Dale Carnegie? And what do you think is the best courses you have? And which one do you like the best? I know you're the facilitator. Jerry doesn't do it anymore. He's
That's
retired.
Right. Yes. So from that, really, we work more on like an organization level. So like you had mentioned from that managers, and you say, wow, this has really resonated with me. I need my organization to do this. Then it would be that the organization typically sponsors them to go through one of our programs. We can do that on site, or we have public offerings. For public offerings, they're the Dale Carnegie course, Skills for Success, which is the effective communications, human relations, how to win friends.
Now, what'd you call that? What kind of course?
Skills for Success.
No. What'd you call offsite or something?
No, on-site means a private offering to that organization that we can come on-site to that. And then we have a high impact presentations. We do a sales training, winning with relationship selling, and we do leadership training for results. And so if you want to take those, we have those offerings all across the state, Northwest Arkansas, Little Rock, and around.
And that's for corporations.
That is for publicly and for corporations.
And you really like corporations because that's a big sale. I get it.
Yeah. Well, and I would even say too.
Well, you speak to more people all at one time. It's so much better. Yeah.
Well, and you think about how much from a lot of it's culture building.
Yeah.
So when we think about these key fundamentals, it's great when we send a couple, but how cool would it be if you had 25 of your team go through?
And then everybody comes out feeling
speaking
good,
the language.
And then they kid each other about, don't use that Dale Carnegie thing on me and stuff. Yeah.
So you can go to our website, dalecarnegie.com, and it has the geolocation, so you can put in Little Rock or wherever you are. And then you can also email me. I'm Jessie, JESSIE.Wilson@dalecarnegie.com.
Put that on the website, honey.
Or LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn as well. And they can just send a private message if they want to do that as well. Dale Carnegie, whether you are here and listening in Arkansas, we have programs, but we also have programs throughout the whole world.
Throughout the world. Isn't that just crazy?
Yeah.
So I want to take a speech class. What do I do first?
What do you do first? Well, the good news is that you're sitting right next to the person who can get you signed up for it. So So yes, I would say then from that, we would just work on schedules and let you know.
Do I do it with a group of people? Is it a class?
It's a class.
How big is a class?
So the class is roughly around, I'd say 20 to 25.
Oh, that's a big class. How often does it? So it probably starts on a specific day. How often is it offered a year?
So we offer in Little Rock usually around 3 times a year that it will be offered.
And it lasts how long?
So it depends so it could be that if you want to take the main Dale Carnegie course, it's 8 sessions.
Okay.
So it'll meet like one afternoon a week for 8 sessions. We offer that in also a 3-day format, which I would say even for you, since you've taken that and it's just a refresh, that the 3-day would be fantastic.
Is a 3-day real long though? Do you come in for long? What's the hours for the 3-day?
8:30 to 5.
Oh no, I can't do that.
You can't do that.
Oh, no.
Okay.
My attention span, I would be exhausted.
Carrie, I promise you, I'd stay with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if I did the 8-week one?
Yeah. So then it would be 3 to 3.5 hours.
Yeah, that's the
once a
one I
week.
want.
That's when you want the bite size.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yes. So we would work with you on that.
Carrie, you might want to do the high impact
Yes.
presentation.
Really?
It's focused on making great presentations.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
And it's a small group, and it's done in 3 days.
2 days.
2 days now.
Okay.
And
Well, y'all are
it's-
the experts. If that's
Yeah.
what y'all say,
Oh.
then I have to take
You'll
your.
you'll see things immediately.
Oh,
Yeah.
how fun!
Because we videotape and we also.
Oh, it's like being a quarterback.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It's like the quarterback and presenting.
Yeah,
really
then
is.
we want to watch our tape and critique it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Yep.
that.
Oh, no.
It's hard to watch yourself.
Well, it'll
Yeah.
help you identify what you're doing really well, so you do it more consistently, and what you want to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay. And do you want to tell people how much it is?
Oh, yes. So let's say if if it's sending one person through that program, say the organization sending one person here in Little Rock, it's $1,750. What's really neat about this, Carrie, is that our core programs are accredited. And so you can receive college credit. So for continuing education units, it's a certificate
Really?
at the end. So I think more times than not, you can see the sticker shock, like, oh my goodness, like 1,750. But yet you are a part of 9 million graduates globally when you take that. And so say that you were leaving for another job or you were wanting a promotion, then that is what people put on their resume that
sure.
they have done that. And so then when we talk about on-site or private programs, those are going to be a program cost versus just one person at a time. It's going to be for all that.
I like it. Well, and you're investing in yourself.
Yes.
How much is a college credit when you go take 3 hours at college? What do you remember? Do you know, Greg?
Now it's,
Is it $300 a credit?
I was
Could
going
be
to say
like
it's
$900?
$1,200.
So it's not
Yeah.
that much difference?
Maybe not.
It's gotten really, education's gotten out of control.
I mean,
don't know.
Yeah.
Stuff, but
All right. I've enjoyed visiting with y'all.
I've enjoyed
Tell me
it
what a
too.
sales blazer is. A sales
Oh.
blazer. I went to your LinkedIn page and it said sales blazer. I was like,
Yes.
what is a sales blazer?
So, Carrie, this is pretty neat is because Dale Carnegie, we're a part of that global organization. And because we are a household name and the rich history of Dale Carnegie, we have built a lot of really neat collaborations. And we have recently this year collaborated with Salesforce. And
Oh.
Salesforce.
the software?
Yes. Like Salesforce, where you like go and you plug in everything.
Cha-ching.
Awesome.
And so
Yeah.
basically when you are a Salesforce sales trailblazer, then, and I'm one of those, then that they've picked out people like our top producers globally within Dale Carnegie. And so I've done a couple talks on Salesforce. With that, we've done some different articles. And so just demonstrate
What makes a top producer for Dale Carnegie?
well,
Sales,
yes.
sales numbers or number of classes?
You're talking with the lady that is the third highest producer within the international scope of Dale Carnegie.
Jessie, are you kidding me? Why was that not on your resume you sent me? Or was it? Did I miss it?
No.
That should have been in your opening bio.
Well, Jessie opened an international account that's one of the largest ever in the Carnegie organization.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you say who it is?
I can't say who it is, but I mean,
Salesforce is big too.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, the business has changed. It used to be in a lot of ways sending like their employees through public programs, but now it's really been in that we customize programs and meet the client where they are, and we do virtual or in person. And so it's not just a one piece, like a local touch, but it's a global touch.
And you do virtual.
We do virtual and yes.
Can an individual do virtual, or is that just for big corporations?
Well, so I mean, people can go to the website, but I mean, typically what we have seen has been organizations.
You want to be in the room with your peers critiquing you. I mean, what good is it to stand in front of a computer and give a speech? You got to be you got to be looking at people and see how they're reacting.
Exactly.
That's right.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank y'all. So I have given both of you a U.S. and an Arkansas flag for your desk set.
Oh, yay.
But Jerry, I'm going to put a Virginia with yours, and Jessie, I'm going to give you a Kansas flag to go with yours before y'all leave, because I just found out when you got here that's where y'all hailed from or were born or whatever.
Interesting.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
It's been a great interview.
Been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
I knew it would be.
Oh, you're sweet. In closing, I want to say to our listeners, thank you for spending time with us. We hope you've heard or learned something that's been inspiring or enlightening, and that if you hadn't heard something that's been inspiring and enlightening, you hadn't been listening. But whatever it is, we hope it ups your independence, your life, or your business. I'm Carrie McCoy, and I'll see you next time on Up in Your Business. Until then, be brave and keep it up.
If you liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the picture in the center of the screen. For more of Carrie's interviews, click either video on the right of the screen. And as always, thank you for watching.